5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
This is the 5 on Film podcast.
Hello and welcome to 5 on Film, the podcast where we try and break down the top 5 in the world of film. I'm your host, Paul, and believe it or not, we're a year old. 1 year we've been doing this for, and we're back with the original crew, joined by John.
I'd like a cappuccino and a reindeer goat cheese pizza, please.
Matt.
Hello, and I have to say I've enjoyed the whole 1 year, and hopefully you can see this on the video. I'm happy to still be here, and if you all can you all blow at the same time on 3, yeah?
Right.
One,
One,
two,
two,
three. It is a tart, Ollie, yeah. It's a white chocolate and lemon tart. How partial.
We all just blew, Matt. Nice.
It is
It's what I've always wanted.
Ollie, thank you for
Yippee
being
Ki
here. 1
Yay.
year on. And Chris.
Appropriate slogan.
So we are here, we're back, and we're talking, if it wasn't obvious from our backgrounds, Bruce Willis this week. We're going to try and break down the top 5 Bruce Willis films. Here's how the show works. We're going to have 3 rounds, as normal. Nomination, elimination, and ranking. We're each going to nominate a film we think deserves to be on Bruce's top 5. Once we get to 7 films, we're going to knock 2 out, eliminate them, and then rank the top 5 to give us Bruce Willis's 5 on film. Anyone listening, check us out on YouTube. We're on YouTube now. And anyone watching, we're available on your favorite podcasting app of choice if you'd like to listen to us on the go. Chat to us on all of the socials. 5 on Film podcast at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We debated what we were going to do for our 1 year anniversary, and we settled on Bruce Willis.
Should we tell people that we nearly did Will Smith?
And
then a thing happened.
Something happened. Will Smith was there because that was our test run podcast, and we thought we'd do it for real. And then we felt like we should honour somebody who, unfortunately, is leaving the film business. He's announced his retirement due to suffering with aphasia, which means that he is having memory difficulties. There are lots of reasons why you can get aphasia. So I wish him well. And we're going to try and work out his top 5 films. Now, it's 1 year on. I started a year ago asking Chris, which was the first film that should be on our Tom Cruise podcast. So 1 year on, Chris, what's the first film that should be on our Bruce Willis podcast?
Was I the first person? I don't remember that.
You were, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was really hoping you wouldn't ask
memorable.
me first. Well, yeah, sad news about Bruce Willis, isn't it? He has quite a filmography, and his recent choices for films make more sense now, with the revelation about his illness. So wishing you all the best, Brucey baby. I am going to go with my number 2 choice. I saw this film in August 1999 when I was in Houston, Texas. And I didn't know anything about it. And I just knew that there was this new Bruce Willis film coming out by a new director who was kind of, making waves, and it was very exciting. And it was something to do with the paranormal and spirits and ghosts. So I went with my friend to see The Sixth Sense and was blown away by it. And I had not heard anything about what happens in it. So it was perfect. And I absolutely loved the film. for anyone who hasn't seen it, why? Where have you been?
Please go and watch it before listening to this.
Yeah. Pause. Pause now.
I'll put a time
Massive
code in for when to
spoiler.
not- once we got past the spoiler part, I'll put the code. I'll put the time code in.
All right. So now that you've watched the film,
Welcome back.
Bruce
you
Willis
enjoy it?
plays a ghost, and he can be seen by a child. He was a child psychologist, and he helps Haley Joel Osment, his character, deal with this ability. And it's really twisty. It's M. Night Shyamalan's first big film, and you don't know that he is a ghost until the very end. And I think it is Bruce Willis's strongest acting performance. His most dramatic. I think he's fantastic in the film, and it's watchable all the time. I love watching the film, and I still notice things now. I actually watched it not that long ago, and I noticed something that I hadn't seen before, that is a clue to what's really happening. So yeah, that is my choice.
Nice one. So I'm going to try and stay in order. I mean, I often don't remember that. Over 26 episodes, I don't. But John, you were next. So John, is The Sixth Sense going to go on Bruce Willis's top 5?
Yeah, it is. Let's keep this short and sweet, shall we? The thing is, I think you kind of buried the lead, Chris, because actually it's a film about a kid. It's a film about a kid who Bruce Willis is helping, and then it turns out that the kid can see ghosts, and then turns around and basically says, "You're a ghost," and trying to be nice about it. Being the first one of M. Night Shyamalan, it's a really cool concept, and he's really got a good eye as a director for a shot. And Bruce is very good for dramatic effect. It's his understated, underplayed performance that actually makes the film. Beyond that of Haley Joel Osment, who is a remarkable actor for someone so young, and with Toni Collette in there as well as the mom, but also the fact that M. Night Shyamalan came up with such it's such a not benign, it's such a unassuming plot in such an unassuming way. But it's about the evils people do to each other, really, which is why the kid's having such an issue with it. Yeah, it's great. And unfortunately, the first time I saw it, someone had spoiled the ending for me straight away. I'm sitting around at work one day, and someone said, "Did you go and see that film this weekend?" So yeah, so I kind of watched it as the second time for the first time. Having said that, I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was great, and I think this is one of those films that's definitely going to make the list.
Nice one, Matt. You going to give it a third vote?
I'm going to give it my 2 thumbs up. I like this movie, and I've got a little story about this movie.
Does it involve a girlfriend?
It does. It does. It involves a cinema, a girlfriend, and Johnny Vaughan. Does anyone remember Johnny Vaughan from Movie Watch? Channel 4 Movie Watch program? Yeah. Channel 4 Movie Watch. So me and my partner at the time, we were in university in Manchester, and I was shopping in the local Sainsbury's in Fallowfield in Manchester, right where I was living. And I must have been 19, 20 then.
This starts exactly like every other Mac.
Doesn't it just? Yeah. But I don't assault anyone in this one. He's
going to Printworks.
Yeah. Do you know, it was in the Printworks. It was in the Printworks, top floor in the Printworks in Manchester. Anyway, so I was shopping it and I was buying my Empire movie magazine. for the month from the concession stand at the front of Sainsbury's, and it was a brand new Sainsbury's, and it was wicked because it had one of those what do they call them? The airport conveyor escalators. What do they call them?
Travelators.
It had a travelator in it. It was brilliant because it was such a massive building and had other things in it. But you could get the travelator and go to Sainsbury's. Anyway, I digress.
Like Die Hard 2.
Yes, it was like Die Hard 2. Yeah, very, very so.
Robert
but no guns.
At the other end.
No assault rifles in it. But I picked up my Empire movie magazine, and out fell a piece of A4 paper that was printed out, and it said, "Would you like to come and view a new film? It's being displayed at the Printworks, the new Printworks, which had just opened, for a major review show." That was nothing else. There was a phone number, and that was it. And I was like, "Oh, this is a bit weird. Why not? Let's phone the number." And it was Movie Watch, and what they were doing was they're getting the people in to review the program, and they talked to us afterwards about the film. And it turned out the film was The Sixth Sense. So I got to see it before it was actually released. And I loved it. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea the film, no idea the director.
Were there people there filming like the audience reaction?
Yeah. No, not the reactions, but we got to talk to the presenters of the Movie Watch program afterwards. So Johnny Vaughan was there, and the woman, which I can't remember, I've just been looking up now. I can't remember her name. She had black hair. She used to do quite a lot of other presenting as well. And so they interviewed the audience afterwards about our reactions and stuff. So I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I agree with Chris. I think it's one of Bruce Willis's best performance. I do think throughout the early 90s, towards the end of the 90s, that Bruce Willis kind of played a lot of a similar type of roles, especially with M. Night Shyamalan's movies. He's very understated. He's very subtle. He's very calm in a lot of those movies. Very, very similar. You've got the Fifth Element, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, those kind of movies, even with 12 Monkeys as well. Very similar type of understated performance, and he is a very good actor. He is a very subtle actor, and yeah, I can't not put this in. I think it's not in my top 5, but it's in my top 8. So I would definitely say yes. I like the motifs in it. I like the red that M. Night Shyamalan puts throughout the movie, little indications of where we should be thinking of in terms of plot and outcomes. And Toni Collette, I love her in anything. I think she's a fantastic actor. And she was coming off the back of, what's it called? Muriel's Wedding. Yeah, which was actually a few years before this, but I don't think she'd done a major Hollywood movie before this. I think this was one of her first ones.
Bit parts, so.
Bit parts here and there, and she's fantastic in this as well, and it's an all-round brilliant movie, and it's a classic now, isn't it? Classic. And if you haven't seen it, I mean, why other than the fact it's almost 23 years old, there's no other reason why you wouldn't have seen it. It's a classic, and try to go into it blind, really. That's the only way I'd say.
It's got 3 votes.
Yes, yeah,
it's there. Ollie, would have you said yes?
Yeah, I'd have definitely said yes to Sixth Sense. I don't particularly like scary movies, but this one isn't a kind of necessarily scary movie. It's just got a few kind of enough kind of creepiness to the right kind of level for me, without piddling your pants. I think it was M. Night Shyamalan being his first kind of big movie. He kind of set the bar so high for himself that a lot of his other movies, the further he kind of went on to his career, got kind of criticised, sometimes unfairly, because they never quite reached that level. So I don't know, maybe a suggestion to kind of future filmmakers: if you've got a great idea, don't do it first. Do that one like 3 or 4 movies in. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. Yeah, definitely deserves to be on the list.
Nice one. And I would have said yes as well. I, like Matt, similar situation. I got to see it on a preview. Didn't know anything about it. Went in on some kind of preview for the movie. It hadn't been released. I feel like it was only like I don't know, a few days before its national release, but it was just like, yeah, do you want to go and see this movie, The Sixth Sense? And went in, didn't know anything about it, and was absolutely blown away. I think it is one of his best acting performances, and it is up there, definitely in his top 5 for me. So yes from me. 5 straight off the bat, Chris.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice one. John, can you give us the next one?
Well, as soon as you're coming to me now, I'm gonna go a bit more left field, actually, because there are lots that could go straight in, and but let's see if we can appreciate his breadth as well as his as well as his action stuff. I'm going to go back to his roots. I'm going to go back to his comedies. Not all the way back, but I'm going to go for Death Becomes Her. Now, this is Robert Zemeckis' film, and Bruce is one of three people in it, one of three main people in it, those being Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep is a self-obsessed, fading starlet whose best friend Goldie Hawn they've been supporting each other for years, and as the rose is coming, as Meryl Streep's character is trying to keep her good looks and everything, she's introduced to Goldie Hawn's new beau, who happens to be a plastic surgeon in the shape of Bruce Willis, and she promptly steals him, marries him, and crushes his spirits. At which point Goldie Hawn disappears into self-loathing and ice cream, and turns into a complete and utter blimp, while Meryl Streep's being touched up every 6 months, fixed up every 6 months by Bruce Willis, and ends up one day sitting on a sofa, tub of ice cream all around, cats everywhere, big as a house, and then basically goes, hang on, I know what I need to do. I need to exact my revenge, and I need to kill them. So six months, a year later, she's slimmed herself down. So the Goldie Hawn's back on the scene, all slim and everything. Meryl Streep's starting to fade again. She can't have much work done. She ends up being wooed by this strange lady who offers her eternal beauty and eternal life in a bottle, a strange glowing pink bottle. And so after taking it, she suddenly finds that everything's more pert, almost instantly. Everything's more pert. She has her beauty back. Everything's great. Turns out her and Goldie Hawn have been to the same guy. Been to the same lady, and it's some sort of witchy brew which gives them eternal life and eternal beauty, but they don't know it's eternal life until Goldie Hawn gets shot, and seriously, double barrel to the stomach, and has a huge hole right through her, and climbs out the swimming pool when she goes to kill them. Bruce has been spending his time with his crushed spirit, touching. Saying that again. Well, this is a bit more problematic. He's now working as a beautician in a mortician's, fixing up the bodies with car paint and car filler, and doing a really good job about it. But all of a sudden, he's now presented with Goldie Hawn, his ex, and Meryl Streep, his current, and those two are now waging war amongst themselves to see who's going to get. I think it's Ernest. I think Ernest is his name. They end up taking him to the witch, who basically Isabella Rossellini is a beautiful witch. Isabella Rossellini, who basically tries to woo him, and he goes, "No, I want to live my life. I want to live my life properly." At which point he almost kills himself trying to escape, and the two try and hunt him down. This is mid-90s, so you can kind of tell. It's Robert Zemeckis trying out his computer special effects again. It is funny. It is genuinely funny. The bit where Meryl Streep throws the stick through Goldie Hawn's hole, and then goes, "Yes! Oh,
Can we clip that
it's
up for the anniversary episode?
And Meryl Streep falling down the stairs and getting up with the neck all broken and everything. Yeah, I think this is worthwhile. I think it's a very good Bruce Willis performance. It's not as crude and crass as his early stuff like Blind Date and Moonlighting. I think this is a worthwhile choice for our list.
Nice one, Matt. Death Becomes Her.
Oh, I don't know. You know, this is outside of my list. I do like it. I do like it, though. I do like it. I think it's got a lot of merit. It's a deliciously dark comedy. It's almost like a revisionist version of Cinderella, really, isn't it? You know, it's got those kind of motifs and those themes in it as well. And it's also one of those films in the early 90s. I mean, this is 92, right? So it's pushing the boundaries of CGI, and I'm always a big sort of proponent of that. I like to see that, and they do hold up pretty well. And Bruce doesn't do a lot of comedy. You know, when he does do it. I think it tends to kind of not work in his persona because we're so used to him being an action star. And if anyone's seen a Bonfire of the Vanities, which was I think it was a couple of years before, maybe a year before, with Tom Hanks, that is also a satirical comedy as well. And I think he was trying to move away from his diehard persona a little bit during the early 90s, because after this film, he kind of just stuck with genre films. He stuck with action, science fiction, you know, all those type of movies. But this, as John says, does have merit. It's a really interesting movie. I think it's an underrated film. I think it's not looked as Robert Zemeckis' best, given some of the classics that he's done. But I think it deserves further watching, to be honest. And I'm going to say yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say yeah. I like it. I like this movie. It's good.
Ollie, Death Becomes Her?
No for me.
No,
I haven't seen it for years, so I don't remember it being one of those movies that I wanted to watch again and again as a kid. So no, just no. Sorry. Talking about CGI, 92. Well, what year was Jurassic Park? Was it 91 or 92?
Year after
93.
93. Yeah.
Well, you're talking. You're only talking a couple of years after Terminator 2 as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, same year, wasn't it? 92, Terminator 2.
It's no Jurassic Park.
91.
It's not Jurassic Park. No, it's not.
No, it's not. So that's me. I do really like this movie. And I've seen it a lot in my youth, and I haven't seen it for a long while. But I was chopping my list down, and Bruce has got a lot of good quality in there. And
Yes.
I had this at 10 for me of all of Bruce's movies, so it doesn't make it for me, although I say that it is worth the watch. So Chris, you get to decide whether it makes it or not.
It's available on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's very funny. Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep are fantastic, playing opposite each other. I think Bruce Willis gets kind of overshadowed in this. He's quite forgettable, I think. His character, I think, is deliberately quite boring and generic. And he gets lost amongst the body horror and the comedy from the two female leads. It is very funny, but it's not in my list. And I think there are better Bruce Willis films.
I'm just gonna say the difference between him being boring and being in the Morticians, and then when he suddenly realizes is what he thinks he's killed his wife, and then he almost goes back to his farcical slapstick kind of comedy. So he does actually vacillate between the two rather well. So
I think I kind of get what you're saying there, Chris. I think that it was the ladies stand out more in this movie than Bruce does.
Three major stars, you know, it's difficult.
They are.
Yeah. yeah, it's three big stars at the time, really.
And weirdly, it's the man who's taking the back seat.
The back seat, yeah.
The back seat.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I think this is a film that would be worth a remake. You know, I think this would be something that might be worth a remake for somebody. Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely a revisit at least.
Yeah. Well, it's missed out, John. I'm sorry. Death Becomes Her has not made the list. So, Matt, what you got?
Yes, I've got one of my favorite films of all time. I love it. It's brilliant. It's got monkeys in it. 12 of those monkeys. Very good. I love this movie. 1995, 12 Monkeys. Terry Gilliam, the fantastic Terry Gilliam. For me, this is, I suppose you'd call it one of the pivotal time travel movies of all time. Again, I think you've got a very early performance from Bruce Willis that is incredibly understated, very similar to what he achieved in The Sixth Sense. He plays James Cole, who is I don't know what exactly his role is it's 2035, and is he an investigator or is he
prisoner, isn't he?
Yeah,
is he a prisoner? Right. So he's been sent into the world has been destroyed by a virus. Many decades before, and he is sent in to. Is he sent in to process to find some evidence in a particular part of Baltimore, isn't he? And I think he comes out and he nominates himself to. Well, he doesn't know because he's a prisoner, right? So he's sent back via time travel to supposed to be 1996, right? But he's accidentally sent back to 1990 by mistake. And I think that for me the whole film is all about familial relationships. It's all about cyclical relationships. It's all about how we are connected to certain people throughout our lives, and we can't move away from that no matter what we do. So Bruce Willis is, as James Cole, is sent back to 1990. He's supposed to go back to 1996. They've sent him back to find a specimen of this virus so that they can research it in the future to hopefully stop it, or to find a way to procure a cure for it. The world's been devastated, and he's accidentally sent back 6 years too early. And he gets into a ruckus with the local police in Baltimore, and they lock him up. Obviously, he's spouting he's from the future. He needs to do this. He's looking for evidence of the what's it called? The 12 the anarchists of the army of the 12 monkeys. Yeah. And so he's thrown into this asylum, this mental asylum. And in this mental asylum, he comes across Dr. Catherine Riley, who's played by Madeline Stowe. And we're introduced to the players of this story. And you've got an inpatient there called Jeffrey Goins. He's played by a very, very, very well played by Brad Pitt in an early role. And this role was one of his roles that he did after Seven and after Legends of the Fall, but they hadn't come out yet, so he wasn't a huge star yet. He'd been filming 12 Monkeys before Seven had been released, and Seven especially had made him a massive, massive star, Brad Pitt. So I think the producers and the director, Terry Gilliam, got him pretty cheap on this movie. And he's a very itchy, sketchy performance by Brad Pitt. He's very kind of edgy. He's playing, as we first see him, he's a patient in this mental asylum, and this is where we're first introduced to this kind of like the nature of how we are connected, bonded to people throughout our lives. And Bruce Willis gets sucked back by his I don't know how you would call them, but by his controllers. They bring him back. Thanks, John. They bring him back to the 2035. They ask him where he's been, what he's got, where his evidence is, where this virus, why hasn't he got it? He explains where he's been, and the 1990s he's just vanished from this asylum. So everybody there is kind of like, oh my god, what's been happening here? So they send him back. He says, "Oh, give me another chance. Send me back. I'll fix this." They send him back to 1996. But again, they send him back to the wrong time, and he goes back to World War One. He accidentally gets thrown into the trenches. He gets shot. He gets zipped out again. He gets zipped back to 1996. And from that point onwards, maybe sort of like half an hour, 40 minutes into the film, we're in 1996 now, and we're following the story as we'll see it almost to the end. Intercut with all this, we're seeing Bruce Willis's dreams of him as a young, or what we think of him, or what we assume is him as a young child, and it's slowly integrated into the story. And it's got this real great loop to it all. Ironically, he starred in a film further down in his career called Looper. It's a very similar type of film, but I think this is vastly superior to that film. And it's got all the Terry Gilliam touches. It's incredibly well designed. It's incredibly well structured. It's beautifully shot. It's austere. It's got all these elements that you recognize from every Terry Gilliam movie. It's very Brazil. It's very Time Bandits, and Terry Gilliam was very, he worked with Universal Pictures, sorry, and they were the ones that distributed and produced and budgeted Brazil, so they gave him the money to make this movie, and it had been several, 10 years since Brazil, and they said, "You've got final cut on it. You can do whatever you want. Go out and do it." And Terry Gilliam has not made as good a movie as this since, 1995. He's tried his hardest. He's made some good ones, but not quite up to this standard. And for me, it's absolutely wonderful. Now, it does take a lot of influence from a fantastic French short film, which is a set of stills pictures called La Jetée, which is extremely similar, and they take the whole time travel, returning to your future being linked to your past being linked to other individuals who you've known in your younger years, who you might not have known, by this guy called Chris Marker. And it's a wonderful little film, and I'd recommend you seeing it. It's only about 35-40 minutes long, and it's all still photographs, black and white, and it's told with these individual frames, and it's absolutely wonderful. And Chris Marker, who, as you guys probably know, my favorite director of all time, Akira Kurosawa. Chris Marker did a documentary about Akira Kurosawa for the film Ran in 1985, which I'd highly recommend seeing as well. So try and check those two films out, La Jetée and AK, the Chris Marker documentary on Akira Kurosawa. But yeah, I think 12 Monkeys should definitely be in there. I think it's probably one of those films that is as a cult classic. And Bruce Willis, let's face it, he's done a lot of genre films, especially in the 90s. A lot of them were based in action, a lot of them were based in science fiction, a lot of them were based in fantasy. And for me, I think this is a highlight for him. I think he chose well in this film. He picked a good script. So that's my first choice.
Ollie, 12 Monkeys?
Yeah, I rewatched 12 Monkeys a couple of days ago because I hadn't seen it for years. And when the first time I watched it, I sort of enjoyed it, but wasn't kind of fully paying attention. I agree. His performances at times is kind of completely understated, a bit like in The Sixth Sense. And then there's other times when he's going a bit nuts. And that Brad Pitt's performance, particularly the bit in the institution, I think is excellent. I'm a big fan of Terry Gilliam. I like his movies, particularly Time Bandits. It's not towards the top of my list, but it definitely deserves to make our initial offering, I believe. So yeah, pop it on.
I'm glad I'm not last, Matt. I hate this film. I'm sorry. I hate this film. I've never been a fan. I watched it the first time and I didn't enjoy it. And I watched it again because I wanted to make sure, and not recently, but every time I've watched it, I've just not enjoyed it. I've not got it. I don't know. Not that I've not got it. I've understood.
No, I don't think it's that, is it?
It just hasn't fallen for me. I made my list of Bruce Willis movies, and it didn't even feature in the top 20 for me. I've just never got on with it. Yeah,
It's very austere.
There's
isn't it? It's very
Lucas movies
cold.
that are better than this, I'm afraid, for me. I really don't enjoy this movie. And I understand that people do, but for me, it's nowhere near the top. So, Chris, is it making the list?
So, John, you've still to go after me, haven't you, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
take that as an excuse.
I really like 12 Monkeys. It's a great film. There's a lot to enjoy about it. Bruce Willis' performance is very good. The story is excellent. I love time travel films, and this is up there with the best of them. It's paradoxical, it's dark, it's very Terry Gilliam. It's one of those films that I really like watching, but I know that the ending's going to come, and I really don't like the ending.
I really don't. That's one of the worst.
It's a depressing movie. Let's face it.
Yeah,
It's a depressing movie. No, there's nothing happy about it at all.
And no matter how many times I watch it, every time I do, I keep willing Bruce Willis to make the right choices and correct the past, but he never does. And man, did they not predict the future well with that film? Yeah. It's very prolific now. What with the virus wiping out, humanity. Really. Yeah. It's number 7 on my list. So yes, it makes the cut for me.
There we go. 12 Monkeys has made the list, Matt. Sorry, I don't like it.
John? I've got another film from Terry Gilliam that you will hate even more, which I'll mention after John.
I am so glad that I didn't go last. I'm not the vote that the vote depends on, because actually I had a look at my list and suddenly realised I'd missed it off. No, I just kind of, it slipped out of my list. I just hadn't done it. I do like this film. If you want to catch it anytime, time of recording, this is beginning of May. It's actually on iPlayer, if in the UK. It's as with Chris, I love paradoxical, cyclical, self-resolving time travel films. I like the fact that I actually like the ending. Not necessarily our hero's end, but I actually like the fact that it's kind of going to happen anyway, and the fact that the person sitting on the plane next to them is the controller, who turns out to be an insurance agent. And she's going to end up kind of helping to run the world. The world will be run by clerks and civil servants. I do really like this film, and I am going to say yes. Cool. It's as simple as that. I actually do think that he should be on the list.
12 Monkeys has made the list.
Just quickly, Matt, that other Terry Gilliam film,
Tideland.
Which one?
Have you seen Tideland?
No, I haven't seen that one. Have you seen Zero Theorem?
I have seen Zero Theorem. Yes, yeah. I didn't really like that one. It's very Terry Gilliam.
I've seen neither.
Can I just guys quickly mention how you guys are saying you like paradoxical time travel movies?
Yeah.
Please search out if you've not seen it already. I'm not going to try and butcher the original Spanish title. It's called Time Crimes in English, and it's a Spanish movie from 2007, and it is the best time travel movie ever made. Time Crimes, or Los Cronocrímenes. It's fantastic.
Okay,
so
nice.
My recommendation of the week.
Cool. We've got 2 films, Ollie. No, wait.
Two
Yeah,
films.
it is you. It is you. I thought I was going to ruin the order again. It is you. Ollie, what you got?
Should we stick with time travel?
Okay.
Shall we go for 2012? Ryan C. Johnson's best movie he's ever made. Certainly better than his stab at Star Wars.
That's good.
I would definitely agree there.
Looper. I mean,
Yes.
This another time travel movie with Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays a young Bruce Willis, believe it or not. So if you stood those two actors next to each other on a normal day, you'd go, nah, that doesn't work. But I don't know why, but it actually does in the movie. I think they put a prosthetics on Joseph Gordon-Levitt and some contact lenses, and you're nearly there. You sort of believe that he is a young Bruce Willis. So it's set in a time where time travel is a thing in the future. And it's been made illegal because of the consequences that can obviously come from time travel. And because it's illegal, it's gone underground and it's now operated by mob bosses. And what they do is they'll send people back in time to a certain time, and there'll be somebody there waiting for them to kill them. So they'll know a time and a place, and you'll have a hitman stood there ready and waiting with a big sheet on the floor. They arrive and they've got lots of silver bars strapped to their back, and they'll shoot them and they'll take care of the body, and then they'll go and store their silver. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays the young Joe and Bruce Willis plays the old Joe. And he's perfectly happy with, young Joe's perfectly happy with his life of kind of taking care of people for the mob from the future, until one day in front of him arrives himself. And this is something that they, doing this job, they expect to happen. They're closing the loop. They're taking care of themselves. And when the older version of themselves arrives, they're supposed to kill them, take all the gold bars that are then strapped to their back, live out the rest of your days, but knowing that at one point you are going to have to shoot yourself in the face. It's a brilliant time travel movie. I think it's probably even better than Matt's 12 Monkeys. It's very clever. The script's incredibly well written. And it's got quite a, I won't spoil the ending, but towards the end of the movie, there's a decision to be made, and young Joe kind of makes a decision that has kind of far-reaching consequences for all the other characters in the film. So my suggestion for the Bruce Willis top 5, first off, would be Looper.
Nice one. It's me next, and I mean, I don't like 12 Monkeys, so it's definitely a better time travel movie than that for me. But I agree wholeheartedly. This is a very good time travel movie, and just a very good movie in general. I think Rian Johnson, as long as he doesn't go anywhere near a lightsaber, is a very good filmmaker. I like Brick and I like Knives Out, but for me, this is Rian Johnson's best movie. I think Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are great. Is it Emily Blunt as well? Is the female lead. All round, thoroughly entertaining, excellent time travel film. It's a yes from me. Chris?
It's a yes from me. I think Looper is a fantastic film. I watch it quite a lot. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt, nails Bruce Willis. Apparently he studied Bruce Willis's early films around the period at which Joseph Gordon-Levitt's supposed to be him, to get all of his mannerisms down, and he absolutely nails it. It's brilliant. It's really a really clever film, really clever story, and I think it's fantastic. It's up there on my list, so yes.
Nice. It has made the list. John, what have you said? Yes.
This is one I've watched the once. I thought it was a very good film. I liked the idea about it. It is a genre sci-fi. It's a gangster film with a twist. It's also got a supernatural bent in it as well, kind of a extra natural bit in it as well.
It has.
I don't know. It's very well done. It's very well staged. I'm going to say no this time.
Okay.
So,
Okay. It's made the list. It's got 3 votes, but that would have been no. Matt, which way would have you leant?
Do you know what? Because we're going to like 7. Usually we get to about 7. I'm going to say I do like this movie. I think it's got too many holes in the plot. But I mean, when you're making a time travel movie, you can't really avoid those. Why would they be sending them back to get shot? Why don't they just shoot them in the future and then dump the bodies through the time? I understand that they're like people in whatever year it is, 2040 or something, have got chips in them and they can't, they're easy to locate and stuff. But there are quite a lot of paradoxical elements in it that don't quite make it for me. But that's not a criticism as such, because I enjoy that. It's part of the fun of time travel movies for me anyway. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he really does, as everyone has said, he nails the Bruce Willis. I do find the prosthetic nose a little bit disjointed. And I kind of like, it puts me off a little bit. The more I watch it, the more I kind of look at it all the time and think, wow, that's a bit kind of what a conk, it doesn't quite work. But his acting is actually very, very good. I like the ending. I think Emily Blunt does very well for what isn't a particularly well-written character. I like the little bit of supernatural element that they put in there. And I like, again, the closing of the loop, not only with our main character, Joe and Old Joe, but also with the Rainmaker as well. I like it. I'll let's stick it on. I like it.
Nice
it's on,
one.
but
it has made the list. It has made the list. We have 3 films so far.
I was going to say, sorry, when I was talking about Looper, that it's my my favorite, most recent performance of Bruce Willis. I don't think he's done a better film since then.
No, not since Looper,
absolutely. Yeah.
Looper is.
Well. Agree with that.
Yeah. The 10 years after that, he hasn't really done anything, unfortunately.
I mean, Moonrise Kingdom is pretty good. I think that was just after, but it's not. It wasn't a main role.
Moonrise Kingdom was the same year.
Was it? Wow.
Yes. He was very busy in 2012.
There you go. So it's round to me. I've got this film over my shoulder that way, but I'm gonna go. There's an obvious top 2 in my opinion. There's a very obvious top 2 movies that stand head and shoulders above the rest of his pack. And the question is, do I pick the best movie starring Bruce Willis or the best Bruce Willis movie? Which I think are the way to define his top 2 movies. And I'm just going to go for the one that's already come top on at least one list and has been my favourite film for a very, very long time. And that is Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. It is a classic and a masterpiece. It is the story, the story of a load of intersecting underground mobsters, Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, 2 mobsters, living their lives out. Their boss is Ving Rhames, and he is involved in match fixing of boxing, and Bruce Willis plays a boxer who is fixing fights for him. The movie leads Bruce Willis's character down a path where he intersects with gangsters, he murders people, and exacts revenge. It is Quentin Tarantino's best movie. We've already decided that. It is the best movie starring Bruce Willis. It's perfect. Pulp Fiction definitely has to be on this list. Chris?
I thought you were going to nominate Bruce Willis and John Travolta's other film together.
Who's talking what? Which one?
Better than 12 Monkeys.
Wow. Oh my
Sorry,
God.
Chris. Yeah.
Well, it's a given, really.
Wash your mouth out.
Sorry, Matt.
The Pulp Fiction makes the top 5. It's very hard for any actor in that film to really stand out.
Yeah.
Because there are so many amazing performances. And I think in Bruce Willis's own way, he manages to do that. But it's certainly not what it's not a Bruce Willis film.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a yes to go in the top 5 for sure.
Nice one, John.
Yeah, it's definitely a good film. I actually find his story possibly one of the least compelling. Okay, it's got Christopher Walken and a watch, but actually his interactions are a bit, I don't know, it just doesn't seem quite as well-rounded as the rest. He gets to kill Zed. He gets a big chopper out of it. He gets the French girlfriend. I don't know.
He also kills a gangster in his home.
Yeah.
He intersects with all the players.
His introduction into the film, though, that's incredible because
well, his introduction sitting at the bar as Vince walks by.
Am I remembering it in the wrong order then?
I don't think it matters, does it?
Yeah,
I don't think it matters which order it is because it's all out of order anyway.
But when you see him in the taxi and the taxi driver she's just been listening to the fight, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And she's like, are you the boxer I heard off the radio? And he's just kind of like undoing his bindings around his
wrists. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's the strongest story. I don't know. I think there are better Bruce Willis films.
Okay.
So I am actually going to say no to Pulp Fiction.
Matt?
I just said no to Pulp Fiction.
I know you did, John. And I'm shocked, because I see this as I've viewed this particular pod as me viewing Bruce Willis's films as I'm going to pick them because I enjoy them. I'm not picking them because the movie's good. I'm not picking them because he's good in the movie and the movie's bad. I'm picking them because I enjoy these movies, which is why I've got someone here, which I probably won't get around to talking to, which shouldn't really be on the list. But you can't deny Pulp Fiction. I actually, controversially, I do think that Bruce Willis is, contrary to what John and Chris have said, that I think his section of the film is actually better than all the others. I think it has the most memorable scenes. I think it has, again, Bruce Willis being very subtle. Again, he's got that kind of underplaying that he's been quite known to do in the 90s, especially. And I love it. I mean, you can't. As Paul said, it's a perfect movie. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. You can't say it's not. It's not Tarantino's best movie. Tarantino's best movie, as we all know, is the one he never directed, and he wrote instead. Big up True Romance. But Pulp Fiction is a masterpiece of a film, and again, it's one of those films that is really pivotal in my movie oeuvre, in my movie watching life. I saw this on VHS. I got it out over a weekend because I knew I wanted to watch it more than once. And after seeing it, I watched it almost like within a few hours again on a Saturday. And I loved it, and I've loved it ever since. And I'm not a massive Tarantino fan, but this movie is a classic because it rewrote the book as far as movies were concerned in the 90s. We were coming out of the 80s, early 90s, and this changed the whole movie landscape, really. So for me, it's got to go in there. It's got to. Bruce Willis is great in it, and it's a great movie.
I would disagree with you about Bruce Willis's scenes being the most memorable, because I mean those are never the ones that people quote apart from Zed's Dead Baby.
Yeah,
But it's always John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson and Uma Thurman. Those scenes that people.
I don't know the scene.
I don't know the scene with what's his name
with Marcel Wallace and Zed.
Yeah, that for me was the one that made the biggest impact on me. Was that.
I mean, it is harrowing, and
absolutely,
it is. I think that's a major part of the movie. Obviously, there's the Uma Thurman scenes, and there's the opening royale, and there is the whole Harvey Keitel story. But like,
how do you choose between them? I mean,
yeah.
I even love the bit with Quentin Tarantino in it. I mean, for all his problems, for all his his misogyny and his his racism, the scenes that he's in are great as well, with Harvey Keitel, with the Wolf, Mr. Wolf. You can't choose between them all. It's just a great movie.
It is. Ollie?
Yeah, absolutely love Pulp Fiction. I think Bruce Willis's character Butch, he's the most normal character in it. He's the one that you can sort of relate to. He's the one that you can root for of all the characters. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't agree that his scenes are the least kind of memorable. Maybe the least quotable, but not the least memorable. Yeah, I absolutely love the movie. I love that. The kind of the scene with Zed, he gets his comeuppance, and that him and Marcellus Wallace after Butch essentially rescues it, doesn't he? Then that's it. They're good then after that. That Marcellus Wallace, he had a hit out on Butch after what he did after him not throwing the fight. But then he's obviously got a heart, or just couldn't bear to see somebody kind of suffer through that. And the bad guy, or the baddest, or the worst person gets their comeuppance at that point. I absolutely love Pulp Fiction. Bruce Willis is brilliant in it. Another kind of understated Bruce Willis performance where he doesn't have the most dialogue. He has probably the least dialogue, but it's an absolutely brilliant performance still. Definitely up there.
4 votes. Pulp Fiction made it on the list. So that's 4 movies on the list. Back round to Chris. Can you get a 5th one?
Right. Do I go for the obvious one, or no? I'm not going to, because that could easily be Black Hawk Down. So my other favorite M. Night Shyamalan Bruce Willis team up is Unbreakable. I love this film. It is about a man who very slowly realizes that he is nearly indestructible. He's got super strength, and he has never been ill, and he's involved in this horrific train crash that kills everyone except for himself, and he doesn't have a scratch on him. And he discovers that there's a man played by Samuel L. Jackson who is almost the exact opposite. He breaks his bones all the time. He's got brittle bone disease, and he's known as Mr. Glass. And there's toing and froing between the two of them, and Mr. Glass helps Bruce Willis's character realize that he is destined for greatness or great things, and that he should, fight crime. He should be a superhero, and it's a brilliant film. There's a great kind of twist at the end, but it doesn't dominate the film, which some of M. Night Shyamalan's films do. Fantastic performance from Bruce Willis. It's really dark. It's gritty. He's always in green, which is a symbol of his hero character. Mr. Glass, he's the arch nemesis. He's the baddie. He's always in purple. He's obsessed with comics. And yeah, it's a fantastic story, really well told, really well shot, and yeah, it's just really clever film, and I love it. I think Bruce Willis's performance is excellent, and it's so many tense scenes in that film. I'm just thinking about the one where his son wants to prove that he is indestructible, so he pulls out a gun and is about to shoot him, and you just, oh my god, you on the edge of your seat. And the way that he talks his son out of it, I can relate very much to that sort of dynamic with my own son. Not that my son would shoot me with a real gun, maybe a Nerf, but yeah.
Yeah, but you shoot him back with that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Unbreakable is my choice.
John, is M. Night Shyamalan going to get a second film on this list?
Yes, he is.
Nice.
To be fair, this is a beautiful masterpiece of a film, and does a superhero movie in a way that has never, ever been done before in such a beautiful way. And it doesn't rely on anybody knowing anything about anybody. And in fact, it all starts with Elijah being born back, and it's as much about his journey as it is about David Dunn's, Bruce Willis's character. I love the fact that in embracing, it's a story about embracing who you are, and although for nefarious reasons, the fact that Elijah is helping David to discover who he is and remember who he is, it helps him to fill that hole, which means that he can work on getting his marriage back and work on his relationship with his kid, and go out and help people. And when he goes into, well, two bits. One where he's doing the weights in the basement, and they're just adding whatever they can find onto the bar to see what he can do. And the bit in the train station, which ultimately leads to the house, are just magnificent. And there's an awful lot of comic lore and everything in that film, and it's beautiful. This is something that Stan Lee would. It's just perfect. It's beautiful. It's a work of art. I love this film.
Matt, Unbreakable.
Yeah, it's on my list. I prefer this to The Sixth Sense, I'll be honest. I polled this across a lot of my friends, and I've spoken to a lot of people about this, notwithstanding movie lovers, but in general, it's not well regarded. People find it a bit boring. People find it a bit slow. People find it a bit ponderous. They're not sure why it's even, a comic book movie. Not even in, the era that we're in now, where every movie seems to be a Marvel movie or a DC movie. But I think they're missing the boat. I'm with John and Chris. I think it's a fantastic movie, and it's probably an unpopular opinion to think that. It's wonderful. It really is wonderful. I like the slow pace. I love the ending. As John was saying, I love the whole bit from the stadium through to the house, the rain, the way that Shyamalan films the house sequence is so Hitchcockian. It's brilliant. It's almost steps from a what was heading towards a thriller into more of a horror almost. It's a wonderful piece of filmmaking, and I love that they went. The director M. Night Shyamalan went further down with Split, and then they went and made Glass after that, and they linked the universe together. I thought that was a nice touch, although Glass is a bit crap. Split is very good. Split is good, but Yeah, for me. It's on my list. So yeah, it's in my top 8. I haven't numbered my 8 here, but it's in my 8. So yeah, I love this movie. I think it's a modern classic, to be honest. And I think a lot of people should reappreciate it or reappraise it anyway.
Nice one. It's made the list, Chris. 3 votes. Ollie, would have you said yes to Unbreakable?
Yeah, I've said yes. I love this take, completely different take on a superhero movie. Makes it feel a lot more real. It's set more in the real world. There's no spandex. There's no costumes. It's just a real guy that just happens to be super strong, super tough, and doesn't really realise it until he gets much older. Yeah, I absolutely love Unbreakable. Stick it on.
Nice one. And 5 all round again, Chris. I would have said yes to this. I think the problem that this film has is that the twist wasn't as out there as Sixth Sense and didn't blow audiences' minds quite as much as the Sixth Sense did. And it had that second movie feel. But I kind of agree with Matt. I genuinely don't know which one I prefer. I think they are both very, very, very good films, and I might even prefer this one more. And it's very ahead of its time. It's a comic book movie when there weren't really comic book movies made. They'd kind of paused comic book movies after Batman and Robin, and you had to wait a while for them to restart. And this was kind of in the middle. I think he does an outstanding job. I think it is beautiful, and yeah, I think that Bruce Willis is very good in it. He plays the role how it needs to be played. So yeah, Unbreakable on the list as well. We got 5. Nice one, John. Mr. Six.
Well, the one I watched an awful lot when I was younger with on VHS was Hudson Hawk. As much as I would put up a good fight for that one. I think unfortunately it doesn't quite make my 7 at least. So I'm actually going to go with not the obvious. I'm going to go super green. I'm going to get my multi-pass. I'm going to put my Tupperware on my head, and I'm going to shoot some dog aliens. Fifth Element, which has to be kind of the glorious amalgamation of a young French mad director who wrote a story in his teenage years and an action star looking for something completely different. And it is a talk about comic book movie. It's the comic book movie without the comic book. It lives in kind of Mobius territory, in futuristic Blade Runner style worlds of the future. We hadn't seen a future like this in its design on screen. We'd seen the dark Blade Runner 1980s take on it. This is very much the let's go another 100 years in the future, flying cars, no straight lines, no corners, everything's beautifully rounded, and food's dehydrated, pops up in seconds, and the story itself is a straight adventure romp of alien proportions, and basically evil's coming back to take over the universe, and it's all centered on a tomb in Egypt, which is discovered in 1920 whatever, and the aliens have come to the aliens have the weapon, and they're going to bring it back when it's needed. So jump forwards into the 23rd, 24th century, and all of a sudden the aliens are on the return, but the dark evil mass has hijacks it and spoils the show. At which point, some poor schmuck in a taxi gets involved by falling in love with Lilu, who is the savior of the world, some genetic wonder who is rebuilt in a lab. It's over the top, it's stylish, it's colorful, it's beautiful, it's funny. It got Chris Rock is off the chain. They let him go to do Ruby Rods.
Chris Tucker.
It's Chris Tucker, not Chris Rock.
Sorry, Chris Tucker. Yeah, thank you. The Pablo Laguna, it's a beautiful performance which kicks up a notch halfway through. It is great. Mila
Djokovic.
Yes, Djokovic. However you want to say it, I apologize now. Is stunning, not only in looks but actually acts the screen off and can pull off those moves. Gary Oldman eats the set and almost chokes on a grape with his pet monster in the desk. It's not sophisticated, but I think it's very well written. I think it flows. I think it makes sense in its own logical way. I think it's Lee Evans is a bit of a down point on it, but
is it Tiny Lister that plays the president?
Yes.
Is that his name?
Yeah, Tiny Lister. Yeah, I've got 2 minutes. And Corbin keeps getting phone calls from his mum saying, Corbin, I'm dying here. It is stupid. It's stupid. Well, brilliant. I love it. And this with Hudson Hawk and Unbreakable are probably the 3 films that I will have watched a lot through the 90s and into the 2000s. So yeah, I think The Fifth Element has to be one of those films.
Is a Luc Besson film making this list, Matt?
Is the what? Sorry?
A Luc Besson film making this list.
It is. It is making this. It must make this list. This was a go-to VHS for me from the rental store. I love this movie, and you know what? I've only appreciated it more and more as I've watched it again and again over the preceding years. And I love it. I mean, Léon is one of it's in my top 10 films of all time. Okay, so Luc Besson's Léon. And his follow-up, Fifth Element. It took me a while. He went in a completely different direction. I didn't know for a long time that Luc Besson had been gestating this idea for such a long time. And it was so wild. It was so over the top. And it's such an odd choice for Bruce Willis to pick. It really is to pick this maverick French director to go in there to dye your hair that you've been wearing a toupee for such a long time, to get rid of that, dye the rest of it like, blonde and like neon blonde, and to have this Baroque kind of setting, costumes by Jean-Paul Gaultier, this mad masterpiece. And, you've got Gary Oldman as well, who's returning from the crazy portrayal of the detective that he had in Léon to doing this outrageous character as Zorg into The Fifth Element. And you've got Ian Holm, who's fantastic. He's sadly passed away now, as Cornelius, and I just love it. It's mental, absolutely mental. And again, it was one of those films from the mid-90s. I love the production design. It's very, I look at it and I think, do you know what I mean? Although it doesn't have any musical numbers in it, I look at it like a science fiction version of Moulin Rouge. It's got that kind of crazy, over the top
I
production
love
design.
the operatic number.
Well, I was going to
I
say
remember
there is
it.
there is a
There is an
number.
operatic,
It
yeah,
is
with the
brilliant.
alien,
Yeah.
and the boat and the ship and everything, and it's wonderful, and it's a massive kind of like smack in the face. It's a overall of the senses, and if you get a chance to try and see Luc Besson's City, is it the Valerian City
Oh,
of the
Valerian
Thousand
and
Stars?
I haven't seen it actually. It's been
Of
on
the
my
Thousand
watch list
Planets.
for a long.
Yeah, it's very similar, but that's based that film which came out 2017 is based on a French comic.
That's the Mobius I was on about.
Yeah, very similar in production design and style. And if you like Fifth Element, you'll really like Valerian. It's very, very good. Check it out. But yeah, for me, Fifth Element, it's on my list. That's another one down on my list. There's only one left. Two left.
Is it making the list?
It's balls out sci-fi, isn't it? Doesn't take itself too seriously. I love sci-fi. Yeah, it is on my list. I was slightly sneaky. I've got a list of 8 here, and it is on there. I absolutely love that. It's a popcorn movie. It's just pure kind of entertainment, isn't it? You don't have to think about anything too hard. There's no kind of detailed plot elements for you to kind of remember. It's just balls out sci-fi entertainment that looks spectacular. It deserves to be on the list.
It's made the list. I would have said yes. It's on my list. It is down towards the lower end of my list, but that shows how good Bruce Willis is. I had this on VHS. I watched it so much. Gary Oldman is so much fun and so. I think it's great. I would have said yes. That's 4. Chris, would have you said yes?
I wasn't the biggest fan of The Fifth Element when it first came out. It took me a little while to get into it. And I do think it's a very good film. Like everyone has said, it's just a crazy, it's quite cheesy film, and it doesn't take itself seriously. There's some great things in there. Gary Oldman's performance is great. There are some great performances. It's not on my top 7. It's just out there. I think there are 2 better films that need to go on before The Fifth Element, but it's on anyway, so it doesn't matter.
There we go. So we have 6 now. Matt, we need a 7. Can you give us the 7?
Well, I can give you the obvious 7th, but then that'll be the obvious 8th as the Black Hawk Down, which is going to happen. So I'm not going to wait. I'm going to try and throw on for the second time. I'm going to try and throw on 1998's Michael Bay masterpiece. I'm going to try and fit it on again. I'm Harry Stamper. You've got Bruce Willis and his crew of intrepid oil drillers who are saving the planet from an asteroid. And I think there aren't that many other choices other than the obvious one that we're not talking about at the moment. I think this deserves a little bit of a spot on here. It really is a guilty pleasure. It really is, and I love it. I've loved it. I don't know why I love it. I just think it is, for me, it epitomizes everything about 1990s, the decade of my teen years, of the action movies that populated the cinema during those years, like the Marvel movies do nowadays. In the 90s, the action disaster movies populated the theaters, the cinemas, and Armageddon for me kind of like was the number one. 1998, Michael Bay. You've got Bruce Willis, Billy Bob Thornton, Liv Tyler, Ben Affleck, Steve Buscemi in a hilarious role. And it's just so preposterous. It really is. It's just so unbelievable.
Space Bends.
It's nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. But it's that pulp nonsense that everyone loves, and it's popcorn cinema. And there's no great acting in it. There's stars, and there are characters, and there are people being funny, there are people being serious, there are people being over the top, and you're not going into it with any illusions other than this is entertainment. And for me, it does exactly what it says on the tin. And I think, other than the obvious one, which we'll get to, I think this is another that can go on the list. So Armageddon for me. For the second time, I'm trying to put it on.
Armageddon, is it top 7 Bruce Willis?
It does get you in the feels as well, doesn't it? This movie, it's like the bit where he like Bruce's character like sacrifices himself for Ben Affleck, so that Ben Affleck can go and have his life with his daughter. I'm welling up just thinking about that. That is the biggest sacrifice you can kind of do. It gets you in the feels as well as being kind of just an action kind of popcorn movie. Having said that, there's still 2 movies that we haven't yet talked about. No, sorry, Matt.
It was 9 on my list, so it's just outside. But I had that clear top 8 for me, and there's 2 of them that haven't been chatted about. So it's a no from me as well. Chris?
I love Armageddon. I think it's a brilliant film. I have the Criterion DVD. I think it's a fantastic ensemble piece, and like Matt says, it's a great popcorn film. It's one of Michael Bay's best. I will watch it over and over again, but I do think there are 2 better films that need to go on the list above Armageddon.
2?
Sorry,
there's
Matt.
There's definitely 1, but other 2. Am I missing a film? Have I not read the list properly?
Don't worry, Ollie will give it to you in a second. John, it hasn't made the list. Would have you said yes to Armageddon?
I think Jason Isaacs walking up to Michael Bay saying, You're sending people who can drill up to an astronaut. Why don't you just teach astronauts how to drill? At which point Michael Bay turned around and said, "Sod off."
Yeah, stop asking questions.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this film, but it's not going to make it. So
no.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter what I say. It's not made it.
That's hey, it just
doesn't matter.
Does anyone see Michael Bay's latest, Ambulance? Does anyone see?
Not
it?
yet.
Yeah, no.
Some people are saying it's his best.
Good.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. I would definitely say check it out. If it's a streamer, then stream it. But if it's still on the cinema, I'll go and see it. It's good.
Nice.
The thing with that for me, I haven't seen it, so I shouldn't really comment. But when somebody's making a movie and calling it Ambulance, it's almost like, we've run out of movies to make. What can we do? Nino. Like it's like, you're just kind of plucking things out of the air and going, let's make a movie. Ambulance.
Well, no, apparently it's it's a remake of an 87-minute film from Scandinavia or something. But his is about 45 minutes longer.
It is 2.5 hours. Yeah, he's extended it a little bit.
He needed to get the drone shots in.
He has. Yeah. That's the thing about it that's amazing. They've done these drone shots where they're doing 360-degree camera moves on drones. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah. So, yeah. Right, Ollie, that movie that is not the obvious one, Matt doesn't know what it is. Are you going to give us it?
I think I do now.
There's a couple of clues knocking around. It's 2005. Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez team up to bring Frank Miller's graphic novels, is that what they are, to life with Sin City. So it's like 4 stories that sort of intertwine a little bit, set in Basin City. Bruce Willis plays John Hartigan, who's like an old, like washed up detective, and he's going to try and save Nancy Callahan, the young girl, from this horrible
pervert.
Paedophile, isn't he? He's a horrible, kind of distorted, deformed paedophile. The look of this film is incredible. It's literally like you've turned a comic book or a graphic novel into a movie. It's all black and white, apart from like the reds of the blood or the kind of the yellow of like the horrible criminal guy, or people's like green eyes. It's so stylish, it's so stylized. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a huge kind of ensemble cast. You've got Clive Owen, you've got Mickey Rourke, Jessica Alba, Elijah Woods. There's
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, Rosario
Very
Dawson.
good turn.
And Devon Aoki.
Yeah, there's so many people in it, and these stories are literally lifted off the pages. They kind of handpicked a few of the stories from a few of those Frank Miller's books, and I just absolutely love it. I absolutely love the look. I love the narration. I love how they do the rain, how they do the blood, and the kind of the graphic kind of fight sequences and things. It's brilliant. It's a visual treat, and for that reason, I think Sin City deserves to be on our list.
Nice one. He's over my shoulder, and yeah, I would say that I agree. I think it blew me away the first time I saw it. I think it's beautifully made. The dialogue is literally lifted off the pages of Frank Miller's novels, and it's played out beautifully. The one actor we didn't mention was Josh Hartnett, who is in the very opening of the movie. And yeah, all of it just comes together brilliantly. I think it's up there with some of the top of Bruce Willis. Obviously, it is an ensemble piece. It's not a Bruce Willis vehicle, but he is one of the most major parts of the movie. So I think it deserves to be on the list as well. Chris?
Yes, absolutely. I think this is a fantastic film. I agree with Ollie. It's beautifully shot. It just looks stunning. And Bruce Willis is great in it. Yeah, I can't fault it. It's fantastic. Yes.
3 yeses. It's there. We have 7 films. John, would have you said yes to Sin City?
Yes, absolutely. The Josh Hartnett section was the tester.
Yeah, it was filmed and made before, and they used it to sell it to the studio, didn't they?
Yeah, because that's what they use. That's what they used to show the style off to the producers who were going to put the money up for it. My wife believes that this is a film about Bruce Willis. She watched the first section where he saves Nancy, and then shoots the guy, and then fell asleep, and then woke up for the end where he comes out of prison and ends up shooting Yellow Bastard, the character's name, and saving Nancy again. So that was in the cinema. So yeah, she thinks it's a Bruce Willis film about Bruce Willis. So
nice.
This was one of those films where Robert Rodriguez, you read his history of how he made El Mariachi for £15,000, and you go, my God, I could do that. And then you see that he's basically doing a green screen film, and you go, my God, I could do that.
Yeah. And
you go, oh, I want to do that. I want to get my friends together and do all this. And it's great. It's one of those, talking about seismic shift films. This was it. This was the second Frank Miller, I believe. I think 300 was actually the first comic book movie to actually look of his that looked like a comic book.
I think it might have been the other way around, was it? This 2005, 300 might have been the next.
300, I feel like, was after.
Let's Google it.
Yeah.
Fact check.
Double check. But
I'm pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, 300 was the year after.
2006. Okay, so it must have been around about the same time.
Yeah.
The one that didn't work was The Spirit.
Yeah, stay well away from that movie.
Which was actually Frank
disappointing,
Miller.
isn't it?
It's Frank Miller doing Frank Miller.
Well, he directed it, and he didn't have Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez around him to help him.
Or Zack Snyder.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, definitely on my list.
Nice one. 4 votes. It's there, Matt. Sin City?
I completely forgot about it. Like John forgot
It's right there.
about 12 Monkeys. I completely forgot. I know, but I didn't know what that was. I was looking at it, and I thought that was for another movie behind Paul. I went to the cinema to see this. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I've only seen it once. I only saw it at the cinema, and
I want to watch it now.
I do as well.
Going and watching it now.
I want to watch it now. I want to watch it now. And I never saw the sequel. What was the sequel like?
No, I never saw the sequel.
Not quite as good.
Not as
It has
good.
its moments.
Yeah,
Because it wasn't all Robert Rodriguez, was it? Frank Miller actually directed some of that, didn't he?
Tarantino directed a bit of the first one as well.
The first one, yeah, he did.
he does the car
scene with
chase.
The car
Clive
scene,
Owen. Yeah, with the head. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I
Benicio del
really,
Toro.
yeah. And now that
Benicio
you
del
mention
Toro,
it-
didn't even mention it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Benicio del
Yeah.
Toro, yeah.
Yeah.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it, isn't he? Or is he?
No,
in the
he's in the
sequel?
second one.
He's in the second one, right? He's in the second one. Yeah. I would say it's probably better than Armageddon. Well, no, not for me, but I think it's probably a better performance and more appreciated, more of a filmic film than Armageddon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would put it higher than Armageddon. So yeah.
Nice one.
Just to say, two cameos. One, Matt LeBlanc.
Oh wow. I
He
didn't know
has,
that.
his head, he has his head stuck down the toilet. He's the one Marvin's shaking down.
Okay.
Yeah, he gets his head pulled out and there's a turd in the bottom of the toilet.
Marvin's a Mickey Rourke character, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and The Rock is the bouncer.
Uh,
Oh wow.
Yes, so
There you go.
two there.
I
what
wonder
what
if that was off the back of Bruce Willis's appearance in Friends then.
From
Possibly.
Matt LeBlanc.
Hey, it
Quite
could be.
possibly.
Yeah, it could
yeah,
be. Yeah, so that's
yeah.
about the right time, wasn't it?
Bruce Willis only appeared in Friends because of a movie we haven't mentioned, which was the success of the whole 9 yards.
So I was just looking online now, and apparently they're really, I don't know if anyone owns the film on home video, home DVD, home video. God,
Yes.
how old am I?
VHS.
I have it on DVD. I have
But
Oh,
they
right,
didn't they
VHS.
take the stories and like separate them out and make them individually into like you could watch the separate stories, and they
I think
added
you can.
footage
Yeah.
to them so that you could watch them in like comic book sections. So there'd be
Oh.
that story, stop, and then that story, stop, and then that story. I'm reading on. Apparently they do. It's on on the internet, so it's true.
So Sin City has made it. We have 7 films on the list.
That's it then, we're done, yeah?
That's it.
Yeah, we move on now.
Next.
I feel like we need to just double check if there's any honourable mentions. So
Look who's
Chris,
talking.
Now. Look who's
too.
talking now.
It's you. You're talking. No.
Is there any movies that you think deserve to be on Bruce Willis's top 5 that we haven't mentioned?
I don't feel it. I feel bad that it's just come down to me. So I think collectively,
Well, who's the
we all
biggest
agree.
fan? Who's the biggest fan? I think it's you, Chris. Surely, yeah, I'm sure it's you.
I was very close to wearing the vest and had my Glock ready.
Yeah.
I looked it out.
Are you not on the
Yeah.
30th floor of the Nakatomi Tower?
Well, I was told come to LA, have some drinks, it'll be a laugh. Hans, Booby, I'm your white knight. It's Die Hard, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does everybody agree
Yeah.
that Die Hard is deserving to be on this list?
Yeah.
Definitely.
5 votes. 5 votes.
Nice one. So Die Hard's making the list. Was there anything else, just out of interest, that was on the cusps for anybody? Chris?
All of the on the cusps were already mentioned.
Okay. John?
Just a couple. Lucky Number 11. I feel looking behind me. That's an interesting one where he's a bit. He's kind of like the second string.
Josh Hartnett again.
Yeah, it's a
Got a story about him.
It's a bit of a revenge thriller against 2 crime bosses, which is very well done. I like it. Bandits. We were having a chat earlier, Paul.
It's a good film.
Bruce Willis, Billy Bob Thornton, and Kate Blanchett in a threesome. As
What?
John,
Well,
you're full of it today.
well,
aren't
The other
you?
it's
one's
a-
Tandra's John.
it's a three-way relationship
Meryl
between
Streep's
two
whole.
two criminals, and the women they kidnap, take along with them. That's rather good. I think it's a Barry Levinson as well. I like The Siege. Denzel Washington, Tony Shalhoub, Annette Bening. That's a good one.
John, talk about Hudson Hawk. You've only mentioned it. You haven't really talked about it.
Hudson Hawk, probably the most watched video that I owned, because it is a complete and utter slapstick, goofball, madcap comedy. With
That made
some
no money.
no, but
It's an all right film. It's a
I've
pretty
seen it.
good
It's
film.
fine.
yeah,
really fun.
it's just the fact that it cost a shed ton of money, and made none of it back. And it's got some good lines. It's got some terrible lines. It's funny, Bobo. It's Butterfingers went on to do Batman Returns as Shrek's son. David Caruso doesn't say a word. And Andy McDowell kind of proves that she shouldn't be in it. They sing as they do robberies.
That robbery singing bit is the iconic bit from it.
Yeah, and Richard E. Grant's having tremendous fun eating up the scenery. Sitting in a jacuzzi with Shakespeare, with Leonardo da Vinci, eating sushi.
I love David Caruso. It's called Kit Kat.
Yeah. Enjoy as the hard ass ex-CIA agent as well.
Cool.
Oh, and James Coburn definitely playing on his in like Flint persona.
Matt, was there anything that you missed?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I like a lot. I like The Last Boy Scout. I like that a lot. Shane Black scripted.
Yes.
Did he direct that? I don't think he did. Was this John McTiernan?
That was Tony Scott.
It was
Tony
Tony
Scott.
Scott, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tony Scott. It's a good movie.
It
Again,
is.
that was quite controversial, wasn't it? Because of the violence in the early 90s, 1990, 1991, I think this was. And it was quite controversial. It got cut quite a lot. I think I saw the cut version on TV quite often, a bit like RoboCop that we've chatted about before. So this was the ITV cut with lots of
45-minute cut.
45 minutes with lots of replaced swear words with like curse, like bumhole, and replaced with all sorts of weird stuff that was constantly quotable in the playground the next day. But it's a very good movie. It's very funny. It's got huge action sequences in it, but it's very 90s. If you like Predator and you like Shane Black's type of scripting, then you'll like The Last Boy Scout. That's very good. I like Billy Bathgate. I think that's pretty good. Dustin Hoffman, Bruce Willis. I think that's pretty good as well.
Yeah, I watched that for this.
I quite enjoy that. And if you get the chance to, although he's not in it a huge amount, Nobody's Fool is very good with Paul Newman in it, and it's a Robert Benton movie who was the same as Billy Bathgate, and I think this was around the same time, so they came and cast him in it as well. But it's more a Paul Newman film than anything else. But if you can find it, it's worth a watch. But it's actually very difficult to find. Yeah, that's about it, really. Moonrise Kingdom, very good. If you see it, it's not my favorite Wes Anderson movie. He's a bit Marmite, is Wes Anderson. He's a bit kind of like sour sweet. You might not like him, you might love him. It's not the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is his best movie, but for me, it's still a pretty good watch.
Bruce Willis is very funny in it.
He's very funny.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy. I'd like to be friends. If I ever met him, I think we'd get on. A bit like Will Smith. I think Will Smith's quite a funny guy.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anything missing from you?
No, not really. That's those 8 movies are the 8 movies that I've got written down just here. I was watching Moonrise Kingdom I didn't quite finish it actually, but I was enjoying it. So yeah, maybe that one.
I had one movie that was in my 8 that obviously I didn't pick 12 Monkeys, and that was actually a Die Hard sequel. I had Die Hard with a Vengeance in my top 8 movies. I think it's a very good Die Hard sequel. It was down at number 8, but for me, I think it's a very worthy Die Hard sequel. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Tears of the Sun is a very good war movie. If you haven't seen it, not many people saw it. Monica Bellucci. It's worth a watch. And if you get a note, not many people saw it. It's a hard watch. It's a harrowing watch. But Alpha Dog is a brilliant film, in my opinion. And if you fancy checking out a film based on a true story that is very harrowing, which you might not always be up for, but Alpha Dog is excellent. So and Bruce Willis is very good in it. So an ensemble piece with a very young Anton Yelchin before he sadly passed away. So I would recommend checking out Alpha Dog, although it didn't make into my top 8. Right, we've got 8 films.
Can I just mention one more?
Yeah.
Over the Hedge, if we're talking about animation and kids films, so Over the Hedge is pretty good.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Well,
as a family, me and my kids loved that. We thought it was quite good. Again, he's quite funny in that.
Bruce Willis's voiceover work.
Very good. Yeah, very good. He gives it all, doesn't he? He's good. He gives it all.
Nice one. So we've got to take 8 films down to just 5.
Oh boy.
So
You like giving me work, don't you?
Yeah. Chris.
26 of these.
It's been a while since we've had 8.
Yeah. Chris, which is the least deserving of this list? The list is The Sixth Sense, 12 Monkeys, Looper, Pulp Fiction, Unbreakable, The Fifth Element, Sin City, and Die Hard.
12 Monkeys. Sorry, Matt.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. It's good.
John?
I'm going for the other one, Looper.
Okay. Matt?
This is a toughie, man. This is a toughie because I completely forgotten about Sin City. Yeah, Sin City.
Okay. Ollie?
This is going well.
12 Monkeys.
And unsurprisingly, Matt, 12 Monkeys is my pick as well. So 12 Monkeys has gone. John has picked Looper and Matt has picked Sin City. So Chris, what is the next least deserving?
Sin City was number 6 on my list, so I'm going with that.
There was 7.
There was 8 films there, Chris.
There's 7 left, though.
There's
Chris.
7
Just-
left.
2, 3, 4, 5. Can you read out the 8 again, please? Sorry.
So 12 Monkeys gone. So what we've got left is the Sixth
Armageddon.
Sense, The Sixth Sense, Looper, Pulp Fiction, Unbreakable, The Fifth Element, Sin City, and Die Hard.
Fifth Element. Sorry.
Okay. Ollie?
Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element.
No.
Sorry, Matt.
You crushed my heart.
What are you? No.
Yeah, that was the next lowest. That was number 7 on my list. I'm sorry. And I do love it. So we're now down to 6. And I've already got Looper and Sin City. So from Matt and John. So Chris?
Sin City.
Ollie?
I'd have said Unbreakable next.
I'm going to actually have to look at my list. I had Unbreakable. At 6.
Oh my God, what is happening?
Which means that Unbreakable has 2 votes and Sin City has 2 votes,
Oh!
which means that John, you get
Oh,
to
that's all right.
decide out of
That's all
those
right,
2
that's all right.
movies
John
which
knows
is
the
not-
score.
which is not going to make it.
Oh man,
John understands his assignment.
I
Sin
kind of feel
City-
like I'm holding a bunny and there's a cruise missile heading my way.
Sin City or Unbreakable?
Suck it up, John. Come on.
Well, of those 2,
Yes.
I will say Sin City.
There you go. Sin City. Whoop.
Bless
It's
you.
me gone.
Whee!
All happening tonight.
It is.
Boom, boom.
It is. So we have lost our 3 films. We have our top 5 Bruce Willis movies. They are in no particular order at the moment. The Sixth Sense, Looper, Pulp Fiction, Unbreakable, and Die Hard. So, what is we're working out number 5 now?
Well, you've still got Looper.
Yeah, we still have Looper.
I'm going to keep
From
quiet for
you.
the next couple of rounds.
Looper from you and Sin City from
No,
both
it's gone.
Chris.
Sin
No,
City,
gone.
Sin City.
Oh, sorry.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable from me and Ollie. So, Chris, what are you going for?
Looper.
Looper. And
That's 2-2, isn't it?
Matt. No, Matt. What's number 5?
Looper's going.
Looper is our number 5. There we
I
go.
can choose one now.
You can, John. So, John, of the 4 left, what is number 4?
I'm
Oh.
as much as I like the film and watched it a lot during the 90s. I'm still going to say Pulp Fiction.
Okay. So we've got 1 for Pulp Fiction and 2 for Unbreakable. Chris,
Ask Matt.
go on,
Sixth
Matt.
Sense is still there.
Die
Hard's-
Whose go is it
Die Hard's
next?
still there.
Whose go is it next? Come on. Oh, it is me, isn't it? Yeah,
It
because
is
John
you.
just went
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, it is
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Oh, I've got to be honest here. As much as I'd like to play a game, I've got to say my next choice would really be The Sixth Sense.
So 1 Sixth Sense, 1 Pulp Fiction, and 2 Unbreakable. Chris,
Sorry, Matt. Pulp Fiction.
That's
Make
all
the
right.
choice.
That's a 2-2.
Matt, what
Okay,
goes
so
on the best Bruce Willis movies?
I was
What
being
it-
honest as well.
Yeah. You've got to choose between Pulp Fiction and Unbreakable for the 4th spot.
Oh God, Unbreakable's better than Sixth Sense, but it's not better than Pulp Fiction, so there's no contest really. So
Unbreakable
yeah.
is our number 4 film.
Mhm.
We've got 2 votes for Pulp Fiction from Chris and from John. So, Ollie, what's the next least deserving? Sixth Sense, Pulp Fiction, and Die Hard.
The Sixth Sense is the next on my list.
Matt?
Oh, I was already said The Sixth Sense.
Oh, yeah,
before,
you
so
said
it'd be
Sixth
the,
Sense,
it'd be
sorry.
the same again. Yeah, same
And
again.
The Sixth Sense is the answer from me as well. So The Sixth Sense is number 3 on this list.
Oh, dear.
This is for the number 1, the best film that Bruce Willis has been in. I already know Chris and John's answer. So, what is number 1, Ollie? Is it Pulp Fiction or is it Die Hard?
It's Pulp Fiction.
Matt?
What's
is
the
it-
vote count out now?
The vote is 2 from Die Hard from John and Chris by default, 1 for Pulp Fiction from Ollie.
Holy shit.
Um,
Well, it's only fitting that I even the odds, isn't it?
Yeah, no, because then you would leave it up to me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
which is fitting. So
Which
I'm
which
gonna
I think we've been doing in the
It's
first.
fair
I think we
enough.
did in the first one as well.
to be honest with you, to be honest with you, I'm really torn because no, I'm not. Pulp Fiction, best film.
It genuinely is a difficult choice because I think that the best Bruce Willis vehicle, the honest answer is Die Hard. But the best film with Bruce Willis, hands down, is Pulp Fiction. So Pulp Fiction is number one on this list
That works.
of best Bruce Willis movies. It is his number one. So counting them down from 5 to 1, we have at number 5, Looper. At number 4, Unbreakable. At number 3, The Sixth Sense. At number 2 is Die Hard. And the number 1 Bruce Willis movie is Pulp Fiction.
Play the fanfare.
Yippee Ki! Oh wait.
Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead.
Oh, is that Pulp Fiction twice? Did that come top of
It came
Tarantino?
top of Quentin Tarantino's list, and it's come top of Bruce Willis's list.
Oh,
That's
God,
a good.
I
It's a
think
good film. Come on, it's a good film.
both of them have come top. Well, the other one was the alternative Christmas films.
It was Die Hard came in top of that one, didn't it?
Yeah,
very good
yes,
movies.
that's true. Yes.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What did Armageddon come top of? Nothing.
No.
Meteor
Was it
movie
even in the
from
top 5, Michael
1990.
Bay?
It was
Well,
no,
no,
it was
because
Bruckheimer,
it was
wasn't
Jerry
it? It was
Bruckheimer,
Bruckheimer.
so he
Oh,
didn't
of course,
produce it.
yeah.
So
No,
that's
no,
why-
and in the answer it didn't.
yeah.
Shame.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. I enjoyed that one. That was good.
That
I
was
liked
good.
it.
It
Bruce
was
Willis
good.
has done some good
Bruce
movies.
Willis has
He's got
done
8 solid movies there, hasn't he? He's done well with
Yes.
those.
Yeah.
He should be
Yeah.
proud of himself. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But he's done 4 Die Hard movies too.
yeah, because the 5th one doesn't exist.
Oh, it does. Isn't that fine?
It is, but it's freaking awful.
It's a TV
Well,
movie.
the 4th one's not great, is it? So
I
there's
mean,
only really
It
3.
makes more
it-
sense.
the 4th one was all right.
Aren't
the
they?
5th
They're
one-
doing another one, right?
I
No,
don't
well,
think so.
obviously, no, he's not now.
Yeah.
Obviously,
No, unfortunately.
I think it was
I
in
know-
the works.
Oh, there was,
There-
I
there
think it
was-
was John
there was-
McClane, 1978 or something.
Yeah, there was a young John
Yeah.
McClane movie. But then there was also a very, very good pitch for a Die Hard sequel that was the anniversary of the attack on the Nakatomi Plaza, and they were opening a building in China, I guess, or in an Asian country to memorialize John McClane, and people try and take a hostage. That was a spec script that was making the rounds, that people were trying to get behind as a
That
sequel.
sounds awful. Not gonna lie.
Sounds
That
terrible.
sounds-
Way to shit on the memory of,
Yeah.
of the
have
Christmas in
you-
Nakatomi Plaza.
Have
Yeah.
you seen Skyscraper?
I have.
I
not.
have, yeah, I have. It's not bad. Who doesn't
it's
like
not
The
bad.
Rock?
It
I mean,
is
come on.
exactly what it's exactly what it says on the tin, but
Yeah.
it's not a Die Hard movie.
Die
No,
Hard Towering Inferno. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd heard that they were trying to greenlight a film with Lucy McClane as the
Oh,
main
yeah.
protagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that
Played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead again.
probably.
Yeah.
Some stories I'd heard that yes, and others,
Yeah.
someone completely different.
I mean,
yeah.
They
To be-
could
to be
definitely
fair-
reboot it, couldn't they? As an
Yeah.
IP, they could
Yeah.
like
Well, I mean,
intellectual property. They could
After they did Vengeance in New York, the one that was floating around was Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck in the jungle.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
Seriously,
I mean,
apparently
Die
that
Hard,
was a
Die Hard-
concept.
Die Hard
4.
versus Predators.
Look,
Directed
segue.
by Robert Rodriguez.
Segue. A future podcast, the best Alien versus Predator movie coming soon.
Yeah, we really
Alien
need to do
and
Joel
or
Silver.
Predator movies.
Alien and or Predator movies, yes.
Are you going deep down, like with all of them?
Yeah.
Like even didn't they do like an Alien versus, not an Alien, but like a Jason Voorhees one? Wasn't that one? Didn't they do a Jason? No, they didn't do a Jason
that was
Voorhees.
No, they
Jason
did
versus
Jason
Freddy.
X and
Oh,
Jason
that was
Jason
Jason
versus Freddy.
Different
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah, different
Yeah.
universes.
My mistake.
But that is coming down in the future. Thank you everybody who has taken part over the last year. We've had so many guests on, which would have been impossible for us to carry on. We love having the five of us here. It's brilliant, and it's nice to be back for this episode. But it's impossible to do it without our guests. So I want to say thank you to all of those that have been on for that year.
Name every single one without forgetting them. Anyway.
John,
Yeah,
we'll do a really fast scrolling.
a really fast
Credits.
Give John some work. No, yeah.
I have
thank
an
you.
idea.
Good.
Ooh.
So yeah, thank you very much for everybody that's been on, and we hope to carry on doing this, and I hope people are enjoying this. As I said before, our Twitters are there, our Facebook's there, our Instagram is there. Chat in the comments on YouTube. Ideas, if you want to come on and talk, email us. Anchor, you can drop us a message, and hit subscribe and like on YouTube. It really does help. It so that we know you like the episode and that you want to hear more stuff. So, Chris, anything to say? 1 year on.
Where are my detonators?
Thank you, John.
Not much else. Sorry.
We have done video games, we have done the Spider-Verse, we have done Star Wars, we've done boxing movies, we've done Al Pacino, we've done No Time to Die, which was probably not our finest hour. Spielberg, Disney animation. We have, please go back into our back catalogue, see what you like. We have our best one so far, Tom Cruise, and our romantic comedies from the 1990s.
Rom-coms from the 1990s was a popular listen on Anchor.
Yeah,
so there
Was
we
it
go.
really?
Yeah,
Very
seriously.
popular listen on Anchor.
Our first video
Holy
one.
cow.
Yeah, our first video one was the musicals.
Musicals.
Thank you, Chris. Seriously, heck,
Sorry, it should be that, shouldn't it?
It should be.
we even did gender swapped movies.
We did.
Or
we did. Gender swapped roles in movies. Yes.
Thank you, Anna Crow.
Yes.
So
some good movies in there.
Exactly. And I would probably never have watched Tangerine if that hadn't come up.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm sure there's films in here that everyone's not seen and really would love to. I'm sure there's movies in here you want to tell us about which were terrible. Please come let us know.
Yeah. Echo that, Matt. Thank you
Yeah,
for being here for a year.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, Paul. Thank you. It was Paul's suggestion that brought us all together. So I have to thank you for that. It was great. It came to me at a time where I wasn't feeling great. I wasn't very well, and it helped me out. Got me chatting, got me back into movies. And as I said to these guys earlier, I've started now, having had a DVD collection 20 years ago, and then several Blu-rays, but not as many. I decided to get rid of everything, and I stopped collecting, stopped watching movies. I kind of like dropped out of the movie thing. And I was really into movies for a long, long time. And this has brought me back into it, and I've started collecting again. I've got myself a 4K Blu-ray player. I'm picking up all my old movies again that I love. I find myself watching a lot more movies, and this has brought, for me, I like to think that I've had a very eclectic movie past, and I have to some extent, but there are a lot of movies that I haven't seen, and a lot of them have come from these pods, and I've enjoyed every single moment, and I hope it continues for a lot longer.
Yeah,
Nice
Matt,
one,
you owe me M&Ms for house.
I do.
Ollie, thank you very much for being along for the ride.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, well done, Paul, for coming up with the idea. I remember when you kind of set up a group and sent a message to the five of us and said, I've got an idea for a podcast. What do you think? And then we spent like a few weeks kind of debating how it should work, and then we just kind of then gave it a go, and it worked. So yeah, great idea. I mean, we should have called it like the Creecast or the Paul Pod or something to honour your idea, but 5 on Film sort of works, doesn't it? So.
It does indeed. There's 5 of us, and I'm hoping we've given you some good top 5s to listen to over the past year, and hopefully some more to come. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Happy birthday.
All views expressed in this podcast are that of the individual and do not represent the views of any entity whatsoever which they have been or will be affiliated with in the future.